P.S. Master Zhu, eliminate Tang San, shatter the 7 treasures, step on the blue lightning, and suppress the Haotian sect. Crossing the Douluo continent, Tian binds to the god of war system. Shaon Wan San. My blue-silver grass was trained by the teacher, and my martial arts were just a few punches and kicks. How could a Ning be me? Tian. Break your head. Looking at the broken blue-silver grass inch by inch, Tang San knelt down and shouted, rebuking the heavens for injustice. Tian. Those who intentionally punch and cannot even take a single move are also called real men. Bibi Dong. Fortunately, I am a woman. Helena. Me too. Keywords of the novel. Douluo. Martial soul double fist, intentional bombardment fist without pop-ups, Douluo. Martial soul double fist, intentional bombardment fist. Download the complete set of TXT. Douluo. Martial soul double fist, intentional bombardment fist latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. Tian. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 1 Tian PS, Intelligence Quotient .100, Happiness plus 10086 in the evening, on the back mountain of Xinghun village. Tian, who was small in stature, stood up and wiped the sweat off his forehead. He murmured to himself, I have been to Douluo continent for 3 years, and I don't know what kind of martial soul I will awaken tomorrow. That's right, Tian is a stowaway from Blue Star. 3 years ago, he was still a well-known boxing champion on Blue Star. The old saying goes, it's easy for a young man to stumble when he reaches his goal. This statement quickly came to fruition. In a boxing match in Amelia, Tian punched and exploded a national athlete. Due to his overly arrogant martial arts style, he was eventually arranged with local specialties by the fan of the contestant on his way back to the hotel. Upon arriving at Douluo continent, unfortunately, Tian crossed into the body of a 3-year-old child. I followed my parents and fled to Notting City to avoid the war between Stara and the Heavenly Do Empire. In this world of cannibalism, there are not many kind-hearted people, and their original bodies eventually starved to death in the city. After crossing over, Tian had good luck and was taken back to Holy Soul Village by Old Jack, who was selling vegetables in the city. Old Jack is not wealthy. Although he is the village chief, his life is not richer than that of ordinary villagers. But Old Jack, even if he couldn't eat enough, would still leave the food for Tian. The most he said was, Xiao Tian, you are in the midst of growing your body. Only by eating enough can you become a respected soul master. Tian is not from the village. Old Jack understands that the martial soul he awakens cannot be the abandoned martial soul passed down by those families in the village. After all, Tian was not a real child. After spending time together, he could see the expectations in Old Jack's eyes. Returning home, Old Jack served delicious food. Seeing Tian enter the door, he quickly greeted him and said, Xiao Tian, I will work hard for you. After awakening your martial soul tomorrow, you will definitely become a soul master. Tian gave a bitter smile and did not answer. He doesn't even know who his parents are, how can he know what kind of martial soul he will awaken? It has been 3 years since he arrived in Douluo continent, and he has not even appeared with the necessary golden finger for travelers. Douluo continent regards soul masters as its reverence, but the prerequisite for strength is talent. Innate first-level soul power, even if practiced for 48 hours a day, is not as much as a soul master with innate full soul power. The accumulated soul power after half an hour of cultivation is more. Upon seeing this, Old Jack realized that he shouldn't put pressure on a 6-year-old child. He quickly changed the topic and said, Xiao Tian, you exercise in the afternoon. Xiao San goes to exercise early in the morning, but the back mountain is completely occupied by the two of you, morning and night. Maybe there will be 2 soul masters in our village. Xiao San, naturally referring to Tang San. In his past life, Tian only had a rough understanding of the novel Douluo continent. He maintains an objective attitude towards Tang San and does not make much evaluation. After arriving at Douluo continent, he and Tang San were the only two out of the same village. The relationship between the two is not very good, at most it's just a nodding acquaintance. However, Tian was well aware of what had happened to Tang San. "Grandpa, don't worry, there will definitely be children with soul power in the village this year. Then, you don't have to nag all day. Perhaps our village can also become a Soul Douluo village and be named Douluo village. Old Jack caressed Tian's forehead with a spoiled expression on his face. He bent down and whispered, "Good child, Grandpa, I hope the person you're talking about is yourself." The next morning, while Tian was still asleep, he was dragged out of bed by Old Jack. Old Jack stood in front of the bed, looking anxious and saying, "Xiao Tian, you can just sleep in. Today is the day when the martial soul awakens, and the deacon will not wait for you. If you miss it, you can only wait for next year." There's no way, Tian didn't bring it from the blue star fart, but instead developed a habit of sleeping in and exercising. If not, why did he give the back mountain of the morning to Tang San? Rubbing his eyes, Tian quickly regained consciousness. Awakening the martial soul is the most important moment in the life of the residents of Douluo continent. Once you come, be content with it. Only by awakening your martial soul can you truly travel through it once. Arriving at the most sacred house in the village. The lowest level branch of the martial soul hall, where several children have gathered. These children, without exception, dare not look directly at Tian. Not being sociable will inevitably lead to bullying. However, the martial arts learned by Tian in his past life are not comparable to those of these children who randomly punched. Not long after, Su Yuntao's figure appeared, and Old Jack quickly said, "The deacon has arrived. The children should greet the deacon quickly." "Hello, deacon." Tian reluctantly lowered his head and secretly roasted. "Brother Tao, can't your appearance be normal? It's easy to pretend." That's right, Su Yuntao's appearance is like a hero in a martial arts drama. Appearing in reality may seem awkward. "Hello, respected War Soul Master, I need to trouble you this time." Old Jack walked forward with agile steps and bowed slightly. Disliking poverty and loving wealth is one of the main melodies of this world. In Su Yuntao's eyes, a fleeting disgust was caught by the sharp Tian. There's no way, he's a soul master. Old Jack is revered as the God King on the Blue Star Network, but in reality, he's just an ordinary person without soul power. What is the meaning of hard work? Simply put, it means making your loved ones, including yourself, look up to others. In his past life, Tian was a fighter who fought from the bottom. He understood the secular perspective too well. "Grandpa, if I could become a soul master, I would definitely make these poor and wealthy guys shut up." Tian silently swore in his heart. However, Su Yuntao not only looks down on Old Jack, but also looks down on the other people in the village. His tone remained calm and said, "I don't have much time, let's start now." After speaking, he turned around and released a trace of soul power in his palm, slowly pushing open the door in front of him. Old Jack wanted to say something more, but was interrupted by him and said, "All right, you only knew how to say a few words in previous years. If it were really that easy to become a soul master, the Martial Soul Hall wouldn't give monthly subsidies to soul masters." As he spoke, he took a step and walked into the room, taking out a few stones from his pocket and laying out a formation on the ground. "Children, hurry inside and don't let the deacon wait for too long," urged Old Jack. Upon hearing this, the children rushed towards the room, but Tang San and Tian were not in a hurry. Tang San couldn't help but glance at Tian and asked lightly, "What would our martial soul be? Do we have soul power?" Old Jack took good care of him, and if he could awaken his soul power, it could be considered a resolution to the other party's worries. Tian smiled and said, I heard from my grandfather that the blue-silver grass has the most martial souls on the mainland. Perhaps your martial soul is blue-silver grass. Tang San couldn't help but ask a few more questions about this person who was also out of sync with him. What about you? Tian smiled mysteriously and didn't say much. It's not that he doesn't want to say it, he really doesn't know. Do not deceive the youth to be poor, do not deceive the middle-age to be poor, do not deceive the elderly to be poor, the deceased is great, or towards the peak of life, it depends on the present. Tian silently recited in his heart and followed the team. Like the scene in his memory, Su Yuntao said some precautions and then began to awaken his martial soul for everyone. However, the martial souls of these children have not mutated, they have all inherited the martial souls of their parents. When Tang San arrived, Su Yuntao said to himself, it seems that we should not have too many expectations, otherwise we will only be more disappointed. No surprise, Tang San's martial soul is blue-silver grass, and Su Yuntao even wants to skip the step of testing soul power. Blue-silver grass is recognized as an abandoned martial soul in mainland China. Even if it has soul power, it cannot become a soul master. Uncle, haven't you tested my soul power yet? Tang San couldn't help but say something. Su Yuntao said, no need, I have to rush to the next village after awakening the remaining children's martial souls. P.S. Newcomers and new books, if there are any shortcomings, please take care of them. In the new book stage, following up on reading is very important. For readers who enjoy reading, remember to follow up on time every day at noon. Newcomers new book, seeking follow-up reading, seeking votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Fist is my martial soul. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2 Fist is my martial soul. At Tang San's repeated demands, Su Yuntao couldn't resist and had to test his soul power. This time, the crystal ball was no longer dull and lifeless, but emitted a dazzling blue light. Su Yuntao widened his eyes in disbelief and said, oh my god, this is innate soul power. Having been in the industry for many years, he was the first to see someone who had just awakened their martial soul and possessed level 10 soul power. A hint of jealousy flashed in his eyes. If this talent fell on him, why should he be here to awaken his martial soul for the child? After a brief shock, he sighed and said, child, you are born with full soul power, oh, it's a pity that you are a useless martial soul. Although you can become a soul master, you are also the lowest ranking existence in your class. Tang San wanted to ask again, but Su Yuntao stopped answering. After all, there is nothing more emotional than the ups and downs. Whenever Tang San changes his martial soul, he can earn a valuable reward by recruiting talents for the martial soul hall. Although Tang San didn't know what innate soul power meant, seeing Su Yuntao's performance made him feel a sense of relief. Child, it's your turn. Step into the circle and don't be afraid. Tian walked into the formation formed by the awakening stone, and a warm current spread throughout his body from bottom to top. Su Yuntao once again activated his martial soul, injecting soul power into the awakening formation. This child, like Tang San, has a good heart. If he could awaken his soul power, it wouldn't be a waste of my trip. Watching Tian's performance, Su Yuntao secretly thought to himself. All other children, without exception, felt timid when they saw his martial soul. It is rare for him to see someone who is brave enough. Child, extend your right hand and use your thoughts to reveal your martial soul in your palm. Tian followed suit. A burst of light flashed through, and Tian felt the martial soul emerging from his body. A glimmer of light flashed in his eyes, but he quickly restrained himself. Immediately afterwards, his fists became harder and harder. When the light dissipated, Su Yuntao couldn't help but exclaim in surprise, child, you don't have a martial soul. How could this be possible? Tian's palm was empty, without any signs of a martial soul emerging. The first thing Su Yuntao thought of was that Tian had not reached the age of awakening his martial soul. Just as he was about to speak out and blame old Jack, Tian slowly spoke up and said, "Uncle, I have a martial soul, and my fist is my martial soul. As a boxer, the most important things are eyes and fists." Tian was secretly grateful to awaken his martial soul with his fists and eyes. Having twin martial souls at least proves that one is not inferior to Tang San in terms of martial souls. Fist, can this also be a martial soul? Su Yuntao's mouth twitched slightly. He doesn't know, it's normal. At this point in time, there isn't much concept of ontology and martial soul on the mainland. After pondering for a while, Su Yuntao murmured, "It's okay, fists are definitely more useful than blue silver grass. Child, use your mind to retrieve your martial soul, and then place your hand on the crystal ball, let me see your innate soul power. Fists, as a part of the body, have some attacking power." Su Yuntao thought to himself that he had not recruited any geniuses for the martial soul hall for several years. If Tian's innate soul power exceeded level 4, he would definitely recommend him to the Martial Soul Hall Academy. It can also be considered as adding some achievements to his career. Tian took a deep breath, with twin martial souls but no soul power, it was equally useless. With a nervous heart, he placed his hand on the crystal ball. Suddenly, a curtain of light appeared in his mind. In the light curtain, there is a prominent line of text. The docking of the God of War system is complete, name. Tian, rating. No inflow, all attributes increase by 0%, martial soul. Fists and eyes, power. 10, spirit. 20, soul power. 10, soul ring. None, special skill. None, note. Absorbing soul rings or triggering specific events will earn special rewards. Is this my golden finger? Tian murmured without noticing that the crystal ball in his hand was emitting a dazzling light. Another innate soul power, this time I found a treasure. Su Yuntao was delighted and quickly changed his expression. He slowly bent down and said in a friendly tone, "Child, are you willing to join the Martial Soul Hall?" Upon hearing the sound, Tian finally regained his senses, and at the same time, he understood the fact that he possessed innate soul power. Having lived for 2 lifetimes, his joy and anger were not reflected in his appearance, but he could still achieve it. He blinked and pretended to be surprised, saying, "Uncle, can I really join the Martial Soul Hall?" The Martial Soul Hall is almost the only way out for ordinary soul masters, and Tian still has a good impression of them. At least, with the presence of the Martial Soul Hall, they can mediate the war between the 2 empires, and the lives of civilians are much better than 10,000 years later. Since he possesses soul power, Tian should also carefully consider some issues. Child, the Martial Soul Hall has the most powerful soul master and cultivation resources in the whole continent. With your talent, you may even be taken as a disciple by a powerful person at the Douluo level in the future. Of course, all of this is based on joining the Martial Soul Hall first. Su Yuntao quickly threw out an olive branch. "Uncle, can I also join the Martial Soul Hall?" Tang San couldn't help but ask. He is practicing in the back mountain with Tian, and if he compares variants himself, it will be somewhat difficult to accept. The focus in Su Yuntao's eyes was Tian. Faced with Tang San's question, he casually said, "I will provide you with a certificate later. You can wait for 3 months and register at Nodding College." Ignored by others, Tang San furrowed his brows slightly, and his gaze towards Tian became increasingly unfriendly. "Uncle, I need to discuss this matter with Grandpa. Can you provide me with a certificate?" "I'm afraid you won't recognize me later," Tian blinked and said innocently. He really wanted to join the Martial Soul Hall, but after careful consideration, he knew it might not be possible. Tang Hao has a hatred of killing his wife with the Martial Soul Hall. If he openly claims to join the Martial Soul Hall, Tang Hao is likely to kill himself. Now, as a soul warrior without a soul ring, how can I escape from Tang Hao's hands? To obtain a certificate from the Martial Soul Hall, he has left himself a way out. With this proof, even if he cannot join the Martial Soul Hall, he can still go to Notting College. With the help of the teacher, obtaining the first soul ring is still very promising. Su Yuntao said in a friendly tone, "You are such a clever and good child. You and Grandpa should discuss it carefully. In 3 days, I will send someone to pick you up. You must make a decision then." The awakening of the martial soul ended, and Su Yuntao informed old Jack about the situation between Tian and Tang San. Upon hearing that his grandson had innate soul power, old Jack's face lit up with a brilliant smile. "Deacon, we agree. You can take Tian to the Martial Soul Hall Academy now." Su Yuntao is not very anxious. This Holy Soul Village is located in a remote area, and those from big families cannot find it here. Therefore, he is not worried that Tian will be taken away by other forces. Jack Village Chief, this matter is not urgent. Your grandson Tian, after all, is 6 years old and should have his own ideas. I will take him away now. If he misses his family and hometown in the future, it will not be conducive to cultivation. You parents, you need to do a good job in your child's ideological work. Furthermore, I can guarantee that under the guidance of the Martial Soul Hall, Tian will definitely surpass the Soul Saint in the future. At that time, your village can also be renamed. After listening, old Jack's smile grew even stronger. Thank you for reminding me, the steward. I will definitely communicate well with Tian, he said. All right, I should go now. In 3 days, you must give a clear answer. Definitely, definitely. I'll see you off, Deacon. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. He must be a dog of our Tang family. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. He must be a dog of our Tang family. It seems that we all have a chance to become soul masters, Tang San said calmly as he walked out of the gate of the Martial Soul Hall and turned towards Tian beside him. The two had similar childhood experiences, but Tian was able to be favored by the Martial Soul Hall, which made Tang San feel a bit jealous. But he hid very deep, at least there was nothing visible on his face. Tian was well aware of Tang Hao's prowess, so he quickly added, "Actually, I don't really want to join the Martial Soul Hall either. The academy is just a doorstep, and the specific cultivation still depends on the individual. If there is talent in the air, relaxing cultivation will only waste time in vain." Tang San didn't know what he was thinking, so he calmly responded and turned towards his own direction. Coincidentally, old Jack walked in and came up to scold Tang Hao. Option 1. Bow down to Tang Hao and become a loyal dog of the Tang family. Reward. Lick a dog's secret book. Before he could finish sighing, a line of words quickly came to mind. He is too clear about what innate soul power represents. After hearing this, Tang Hao's face darkened at a speed visible to the naked eye. Good appearance, a scene of father's kindness and filial piety. With Tang San's talent, he will definitely grow up to be a top powerhouse in the mainland in the future. The Holy Soul Village had some kind of bad luck, but it turned out to be a genius with innate soul power. Upon hearing this, Tang San felt a surge of warmth in his heart. Dad actually thinks for himself, is this fatherly love? He didn't receive much information, he only knew that he could receive special rewards after triggering events and obtaining soul rings. Tang Hao dug out his ear and looked impatient. Old Jack, what are you doing here? If you have nothing to do, I, Tang Hao, won't accompany you. Don't be discouraged, mistress. Our village has a quota for part-time students. Tian will go to the Martial Soul Hall Academy to study, and in 3 months, I will take you to Notting College to register. Old Jack was afraid that Tang San's heart would be unbalanced, so he quickly said something. Tang Hao just wanted to refuse. After all, asking the Tang family to work and study is simply an insult. He didn't even do licking dogs in his past life, and it's even more impossible for him to do it after being reborn. As for being tough on the front, he's not stupid enough yet. After returning home, Tian explained his ideas to old Jack. For ordinary people, being recognized by the Martial Soul Hall is a great honor. Trigger event, Tang Hao's killing intent, please ask the host to make a choice. Originally, he thought he was a useless person and had no chance to seek revenge against the Martial Soul Hall. But after seeing Tang San's talent, he gradually had hope for revenge in his heart. Tang Hao. Old Jack was so angry that he blew his beard and glared angrily. You've had bad luck. The third party has awakened their soul power and will become a glorious soul master in the future. I'll tell you, I plan to hand over the quota for our village's working-class students to the third party. Since he had awakened his martial soul, he couldn't neglect exercising. Thinking of this, Tian quickly ran towards the back mountain. Old Jack, I agreed. But I have one request. If the third person goes to the college alone, it's inevitable that they will be bullied. I heard your grandson has also awakened his soul power, so why not let them go to the college together and take care of each other? Tang Hao said calmly. Watching Tang San leave, old Jack came to Tian with a good mood and said, Xiao Tian, you've given Grandpa a big argument. From now on, our Holy Soul Village will all be proud of you. In my past life, if I had such a perspective, I wouldn't have been arranged with local characteristics. Dad, but there is another person in our village who has awakened his innate soul power. At this moment, Tang San was like a child, unable to hide a secret in his heart. Note: when the host completes the content in the options, the system will automatically issue a reward. The host may not make a choice, but there will be no reward. Tang San, my good son. 103:75. 228:61. Awakening from his martial soul, he could feel that his vision had become exceptionally clear. With just a glance at the flowers and plants swayed by the wind, he could outline the scene in his mind. Not only that, his physical fitness has also made a qualitative leap. Tian is not aware of the specific rewards. After old Jack left, Tian returned to his bed and quickly looked at the system panel in his mind. Old Jack stomped his feet in anger and cursed angrily, Tang Hao, this is just nonsense. Xiao Tian has been spotted by the deacon of the Martial Soul Hall and wants to enter the Martial Soul Hall Academy to study. In 3 days, the Martial Soul Hall will send someone to pick him up. I advise not to act recklessly. If you offend the deacon, you will ruin Xiaotian's future. But on second thought, if we could have Tian and Tang San go to school together and cultivate a deep friendship, it would be countless times better to have Tian actively join their Tang family than to force him to do so. Looking at the envious gaze of the parents, Tian knew the truth behind Mu Xiu in the forest and quickly grabbed old Jack. Grandpa, let's talk about it when we go home. If the Martial Soul Hall can safely deliver him to the academy, he would be happy to join the Martial Soul Hall. After all, he has no reason to refuse. There is no mention of working students at the Soul Master Academy of the Martial Soul Palace, and there are also additional subsidies. This money is enough to improve the lives of myself and my grandfather. Tang San didn't look back and ran, saying, Grandpa Jack, I'll go back and ask Dad. Who is he? Tang Hao quickly asked. After hearing this, Tang Hao couldn't help but furrow his brow. I choose to run away. Tian said repeatedly in his heart. Meanwhile, inside Tang Hao's blacksmith shop. Option 2. Face up hard and defend Tang Hao's head. Reward. Reborn as a repair dog. Thank you, Grandpa. The good news is that the event was triggered, the bad news is, there's no choice at all. Xiao Tian, when you go to the Martial Soul Hall Academy, you must study hard, listen to the teacher, and get along well with your classmates. Grandpa, I have worked hard all my life, and I am already very satisfied to see you become a soul master. Tang San pointed in the direction of old Jack's house and said, "It's Tian, the grandson of Grandpa Jack. He was also invited by the deacon of the Martial Soul Hall and will be studying at the Martial Soul Hall Academy in the future. He must be a dog of our Tang family, otherwise he must die." Tang Hao made up his mind. Upon hearing that Tang San had awakened his twin martial souls and still possessed innate full soul power, Tang Hao was so excited that he hugged Tang San. After entering the academy, I must quickly obtain the soul ring and receive the reward first. Tian made up his mind. As for the triggering event, he has never triggered it before and does not know how to trigger it. Option 3. Let it be natural. Reward. The location information of the first soul ring soul beast suitable for the host. After explaining his ideas, old Jack looked relieved. Such a genius joined the Martial Soul Hall and was trained by the Martial Soul Hall. In the future, it will inevitably become a formidable enemy of the Tang family. The tower near the water is the first to receive the moon. Since such a genius has appeared in the village, the Tang family can also reluctantly accept him. After hearing this, Tang Hao couldn't help but laugh in his heart. What he wants is this news. As long as he knows when the people from the Martial Soul Hall will come, he can take action. Without these deacons, Tian still has to obediently go to Notting College. Since he had decided to let Tian be the dog of the Tang family, Tang Hao's only remaining conscience made him unwilling to take action against a child before going against him. Request for follow-up reading, request for tickets, end of this chapter. Chapter 4. Let it go with nature. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Let it go with nature. The choice of the system undoubtedly sounded the alarm for Tian. Being targeted by a tidal Douluo, Tian suddenly felt like a light shining on his back. However, Tang Hao did not actively seek his intention. After 3 consecutive days, he remained calm and carefree. Tian finally breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. In front of him was another choice. If the people from the Martial Soul Hall come, will he follow these people? Following them, Tang Hao is likely to attack halfway and kill him. But if he doesn't follow, old Jack won't be able to pass this level. Ah, the system is right, let it go with the flow. Tian lay in bed, feeling extremely tired. At such times, not coming from the Martial Soul Hall seems to be the best choice. But what can he do if his legs don't grow on someone else? Originally, his view of Tang Hao was very average. Now being threatened by the other party, if he can give Tang Hao a good face, then there is a ghost. Fortunately, Tang Hao made a choice for him. On the mountain road into Holy Soul Village, a group of 3 people dressed in Martial Soul Hall costumes are accelerating their journey. Deacon Su Yuntao of Notting City reported that there are soul masters with physical martial souls in the Holy Soul Village. "It seems that we have found treasure this time," said the middle-aged man with an excited expression. "The main body martial soul is very powerful." These words were the first words his teacher asked him to remember when he first learned about Soul Master theory. The Martial Soul Hall has the most comprehensive information about martial souls, and there are naturally many records about the essence of martial souls. Compared to the martial souls of weapons and beasts, the Soul Master of ontological martial souls has an innate advantage in comprehending martial souls. Tian is also a genius with innate soul power, and in order to almost become a tidal Douluo. The most important thing for the tidal Douluo to improve his strength is his understanding of martial souls. It can be said that Tian's future is bright. It is a great honor for any scholar to be able to teach a tidal Douluo powerhouse. "Mr. Hildo, it seems that you are planning to take the apprentice this time," said the man's companion happily. Hill and he are both teachers at the Junior Soul Master Academy of the Martial Soul Hall. They have worked together for many years and naturally understand each other's personalities. "Shaoli, hurry up a bit. Let's go meet this genius first, Hill said with a faint smile. Shaoli is the deacon of the Wuhuan Hall in Notting City. As Su Yuntao went on a date with Cece, the task of leading the way fell on him. Shaoli pointed to the big mountain ahead and quickly said, 2 adults, just one more hill away, we will reach the boundary of Holy Soul Village. According to the instructions of Deacon Su Yuntao, Tian and his grandfather should be waiting for the 2 adults in the village. Hildo nodded with satisfaction. As the saying goes, the moon comes first from a tower near the water. His college happened to be not too far away from here. With his connections within the Martial Soul Hall, he successfully intercepted this news. If Tian displays innate intelligence, he may be able to wake up with a smile even in his dreams. Suddenly, a deep voice fell into their ears. He, 3 of you, you may not be able to reach Holy Soul Village. Who? Hill looked around with a wary expression, and 6 soul rings, yellow, purple, black, and black, appeared at his feet. 2 soul emperors, 1 great soul master, fun. The voice suddenly intensified. Immediately after, a powerful wave of soul power struck the 3 of them. The great soul master named Shaoli, under the pressure of this soul, was instantly crushed and his body exploded. Blood and flesh splattered onto the 2 of Hildu. Both of Hildu's faces turned red, and they didn't feel well under such pressure. Crown Prince, I am the Fasno Province and the Dean of the Junior Soul Master Academy at the Martial Soul Hall, Hildo. If there is any offense, I am willing to pay all the costs. Martial Soul Hall. The attacker was Tang Hao, and upon hearing what the other person was saying, he immediately became furious. The Haotian hammer grew larger in his hand and slammed fiercely at the opponent. Before his death, Hill recognized the Haotian hammer martial soul, but he wouldn't have a chance to bring the news out. After dealing with the 3 of them, Tang Hao looked at the large pit smashed on the ground and snorted coldly, Martial Soul Hall, this is the interest I Tang Hao charged you. Tang Hao is not without courage or strategy, he has been following these people for a long time. From their conversation, it was learned that Hill had intercepted the news by his own means in order to recruit Tian. And the deacon named Shaoli will also be transferred from Notting City. This time, after leading the way, he will go directly to take up the position. Such a good opportunity, Tang Hao naturally won't give up. Tian is just a dog raised by our Tang family, how could it attract the attention of you scumbags? In the Holy Soul Village, old Jack eagerly looked at the entrance of the village. From morning till night, he never waited for the arrival of the people from the Martial Soul Hall. Tian stood next to old Jack and couldn't help but sigh, let nature take its course. Congratulations to the host for completing the selection. Selection completed, reward the location information of the first soul ring soul beast suitable for the host needs to reach the soul beast forest to view. Looking at the system panel in his mind, Tian thought to himself, it seems that the people from the Martial Soul Hall will not come. Grandpa, let's go back. My martial soul is not recorded on the mainland, and the deacon may think that his previous words were inappropriate, so I don't think they will come. Tian tugged at old Jack's sleeve and said helplessly. Old Jack didn't give up and glanced again. After confirming that no one was coming, he bent down and let out a long sigh. Tian, you are so sensible. Hey, it's okay if the people from the Martial Soul Hall don't come. With your talent, any Soul Master Academy will accept you. Fortunately, you asked the deacon for a certificate. In the village next door to Laoli, there hasn't been a Soul Master this year. Tomorrow, I will go and ask for the quota of working students in their village. From now on, you and the mistress will go to Notting College together to study, and we will also take care of each other. Tian nodded silently. For him, going to Notting College is not a bad thing. There are still 3 months until the start of school, and Tian is not idle. He is exercising step by step every day. After awakening his martial soul, his physical strength and fitness underwent a qualitative leap, resulting in a longer duration of cultivation. Tang San is also like this. In the past, the two of them hardly met in the back mountain, but now they often bump into each other. Tian could clearly feel that Tang San's gaze had changed. But whenever he looked closely, Tang San would take it back without a trace. Of course, Tian didn't care. Having the top-notch martial arts of his past life, he is confident that he is not inferior to Tang San's hidden weapons. 3 months have passed in a blink of an eye, and during these days, the attributes of Tian have also slightly improved. Power. 12. Looking at the only attribute that changed on the panel, he felt a pang of bitterness in his heart. Without a soul ring, his soul power would not break through. And he also doesn't know how to meditate, nor can he use these 3 months to accumulate soul power for himself in advance. After enrollment, I must obtain the first soul ring as soon as possible, Tian said with a firm gaze. The signing process is underway, so hurry up and invest if you haven't invested yet. It is very important to follow up on the new book period. For readers who enjoy reading, remember to read it every day. Thank you very much. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Notting College. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Notting College. Holy Soul Village is not far from Notting City. Today, several villagers happened to push wooden carts to sell vegetables to Notting City. Old Jack pushed the cart with the villagers in order to prevent Tian and Tang San from getting tired on the road. And Tian and the other two were arranged by Old Jack to sit on the wooden board. Looking at Old Jack, who was already struggling, Tian felt a bit heavy in his heart. Old Jack is like a selfless parent, caring for his children with his meager strength. Tian secretly swore in his heart that he must become a soul master as soon as possible and receive monthly subsidies from the Martial Soul Hall, so as to make Old Jack's life easier. On the other hand, Tang San lay down in the car, seemingly feeling from the bottom of his heart that he should have been destined to take the car. Half a day later, Old Jack and Tian arrived at Notting College. To be precise, this is Notting City Junior Soul Master Academy. Quickly, the gatekeeper of the college intervened and stopped 3 people. Stop, the college's important area, all unauthorized persons are strictly prohibited from entering. As he spoke, he also scrutinized the attire of Tian and others. In such small cities, the hatred for poverty and love for wealth are almost engraved in the bones of the lower class. Seeing Tian and the others dressed in rural attire, the gatekeeper suddenly felt that his figure was much taller. He put his hands on his hips and said disdainfully, "Cut, a bunch of poor guys, get out of here quickly. If you disturb the soul master in the academy, it will be good for you." Although the words are different from the original time and space, they still have the same formula and taste. Tian clenched his fist. Although he was still young, he was confident that with his martial arts, he could make the gatekeeper drink a pot. "This little brother, we are from Holy Soul Village. These 2 are working-class students we sent this year. Look, these are certificates issued by the deacon." Old Jack respectfully presented the 2 certificates. Unexpectedly, the gatekeeper only glanced at it and said firmly, "And who are you fooling?" "A group of country bumpkins. Can you read? Do you know what's written on it? Those who can attend Soul Master College, whether ordinary students or engineering students, are all people with soul power. The reason why this person came here as a gatekeeper is that he wants to interact with those talented children with soul power. Secondly, he did not awaken his soul power from a young age, and watching those students with soul power beg him to open the door in front of him, he felt very happy. Furthermore, soul masters are a wealthy group, and they are in such an important position. It's not excessive to make some profit. You're deliberately making things difficult." Old Jack was so angry that he blew his beard and glared. As the village chief, he must be literate. But Tian and Tang San are the pride of Holy Soul Village, and he does not allow others to slander them like this. Tian didn't rush to make a statement, but glanced at Tang San. I saw Tang San's sleeve slightly bulging, and an imperceptible sound of the machine's chest piercing into Tian's ears. They just spoke rudely, just a lesson is enough, why take someone's life? Tian frowned. At this moment, his view on Tang San has undergone a subtle change. I think you are illiterate, Tian said angrily, blocking Tang San's body. What are you talking about, little devil? The gatekeeper suddenly became furious. He has been working in the gatekeeper position for so long, and this is the first time anyone dares to confront him. Tian sneered, I don't think you even know what illiterate means. The gatekeeper was provoked by Tian and immediately became angry. He walked up angrily and reached out his palm, intending to teach Tian a lesson. Adults are ultimately adults. Even if Tian has soul power, the physical gap cannot be compensated by just 1 or 2 levels of soul power. He looked at the proof just now, and if it says 1 or 2 levels of soul power, he can just grab some oil and let it go. Unfortunately, it says level 10. This is innate soul power. Even the Lord of Noting City has never had such a genius, let alone the unknown Holy Soul Village. From this, he concluded that this group of people was definitely here to deceive. Xiao Tian. Old Jack looked worried. But he is already old, how can he stop the young and strong gatekeeper? Just as the thug at the gatekeeper was about to fall on Tian's face, a hint of smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Then, he turned slightly, clenched his right hand into a fist, and fiercely hit the lower rib of the gatekeeper. Soul power will enhance the physical fitness of the soul master. With Tian's exquisite power technique, when this strike falls, the gatekeeper completely loses his resistance and curls up on the ground, howling loudly. As a boxer, strength control is his strength, and this blow did not break his ribs, but the pain never disappeared in a short period of time. Just as the two of them made a move, Tang San's purple extreme magic eyes had already quietly turned. What a precise punch, was it a coincidence or a deliberate act? Suddenly, he smiled from the bottom of his heart. Why am I so foolish? How could there be someone like me in this world? At most, it's just crooked and straight. Old Jack felt a bit at a loss for a moment. He patted his thigh and anxiously said, Xiao Tian, you've caused a big trouble. If the leaders of the college find out about your enrollment, hey. The impression of you Xiaojiang did not appear. Tian looked around for a moment and did not see the figure of Xiao Pingtu. Instead, 2 middle-aged men walked over. One of them walked up to old Jack, who was not in a hurry to judge right or wrong. Instead, he said, Sir, can you show me the certificate issued by the Martial Soul Hall? Old Jack hurriedly handed over the proof, afraid that the person in front of him would challenge them. The middle-aged man pushed his glasses and exclaimed in surprise, born with full soul power, he is truly a genius. Dean, I don't know, said another man in surprise. The middle-aged man didn't say anything, but handed him the proof of the Martial Soul Hall. Then, the middle-aged man bent down and said, Sir, I am Su Changqing, the Dean of Noting College. The person next to me is Su Mu, the Director of Education. On behalf of the college, I sincerely invite your 2 children to enter our college. Surprisingly, it was the Dean and Director Su, which surprised Tian slightly. It seems that the plot is not as it is in the novel. At least, in the novel, Dean Noting is not mentioned. Anyway, I have also entered Noting College. If I could get the help of Dean Su, the first soul ring would have a place to go. Su Changqing did not doubt the authenticity of the proof, he could clearly feel the soul power fluctuations on Tian and Tang San. Dean Su, Xiao Tian and Xiao San, please. Old Jack bent down excitedly to thank you. Su Changqing quickly helped him up and said, Mister, it's our responsibility to teach and educate. Let's leave the children to us. However, you can't pick them up in advance before the end of the year holiday. Yes, I'll pick them up when we're on vacation, old Jack said happily. Next, he explained many things to Tian and Tang San, and then reluctantly left. As for the gatekeeper, Changqing stood in front of him and said calmly, "The gatekeeper is the face of the college. No matter who you treat, you should be treated with respect. Since you have seriously damaged the image of the college, from now on, you are no longer a member of the college." After speaking, he led Tian and the others into the college. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Sorry, I refuse. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 7. Changqing's plan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 8. That's it, how can I lose? You are listening at novelfull.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 9. Stealed identity. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 10. Setting off to hunt for souls. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The source has no content or has errors.